It is time now to bring in our State House insiders. Dave Wilson, our Republican strategist, Antoine Seawright, our Democratic strategist. Guys, 10 years ago today, the Confederate flag was removed from the State House grounds. Antoine, in those 10 years, what's changed in South Carolina when it comes to race relations? Anything?
Well, a lot has changed, but much remains the same. South Carolina, in spite of passing the legislation led by Senator Vincent Shaheen at the time to bring down the Confederate battle flag from the State House grounds, still has yet to pass the hate crime legislation. To me, those things go hand in hand. And here's what I would say about the Confederate flag coming off the grounds. It was only because 9 Black people were killed in a church in Charleston is why that flag came down. That should not be the case. We have so much work to do in our state to heal a state that has led in places where we should have been at the back of the line. And I'm hopeful that another generation of leaders in our state will come together and heal the broken spots and the dark, deep past that South Carolina has and has battled with when it comes to race.
This is one of those situations where the South Carolina House of Representatives has basically passed this bill quite often, but it dies over in the Senate. And this is a question that really has to come up for Republicans. Are they willing to turn around and do what it takes to bring this piece of legislation up? Or will the Democrats actually use the power that every senator has to stop legislation to force the hand of the Republicans? Because the Republicans do have a Senate majority right now.
But here's what I would say about that moment 10 years ago in our state. Because 9 people were killed in Charleston, the Confederate flag came off the grounds of the State House, but also monuments, Confederate monuments around the country were removed in many places. But now in 2025, we see the renaming of ships back to Confederate names and buildings and so forth. So in many ways, while we made progress, that progress has been eroded. And that's where the power of elections come into place. And so we have to elect leaders who do not want to roll back the hands of progress, but want to plow forward when it comes to progress for future generations.
Turning now to politics, it appears that Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette, Dave, is going to throw her hat into the ring for governor next week.
The announcement of the I've got a special announcement was a little bit of a non-starter here. Pamela Evette is going to be getting into this race. She's going to be joining Josh Kimbrell. She's going to be joining Alan Wilson. We expect Nancy Mace to be coming into this race, perhaps even Ralph Norman. So the field is going to get crowded soon, but the lieutenant governor is hoping to at least skirt in on the coattails of Governor McMaster and say that there's been levels of success in the McMaster-Evette administration, but she's got a lot of competition. And the question is, will she be able to take the money that she has set aside, which we hear is millions of dollars, and be able to use that to counter what's already out there right now between Wilson and Kimbrell at least?
I think what's going to be interesting is who can do the best dance. It's the dance of cuddling and playing footsie to Trump and Trumpism, because we know that's a large base of South Carolina Republicans, but also who can bring along traditional Republicans in a place like South Carolina, who has a history of rejecting, in some cases, some of the extreme that we've seen from this modern day Republican Party led by Trump. And so who can bring those two coalitions together will essentially emerge as the Republican nominee. And hopefully on the Democratic side, we will have a pragmatic leader who can also bring independent thinkers to the fold, expand our coalition, and give South Carolina something to sing and shout about come November of next year.
And that brings up the question, JR, of whether or not Donald Trump's going to get involved in this race at all. And as it stands right now, a lot of the folks are trying to wrap themselves in MAGA. Pamela Evette's announcement stated that very clearly. And I don't know if she's going to be able to do anything that's going to garner her support during a primary, at least, because you had her, you had Wilson, you had Kimbrell, who backed to Sanders and then backed to Trump. And Nancy Mace is going to be getting into this race. So it's going to be very interesting to see how all of that plays itself out.
All right, we have about a minute left as we speak of politics. Believe it or not, the presidential race has already started for 2028. California Governor Gavin Newsom was in South Carolina the last couple of days visiting 8 different counties. And now we are learning that Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear is going to be here next week. Is this a little bit early, Antoine?
No, they're just doing strengthening conditioning exercises. And I think that's important for party building. I think it's important to show that we have young, charismatic, but serious voices that will have to essentially lead us into the future as Democrats. And I'm excited that they're choosing South Carolina, because South Carolina will one day have to choose one of them.
And that's exactly the point, JR. 11 out of the last 12 elections for president, South Carolina has chosen the nominee for both parties. And so I think everybody's beginning to realize how important this battleground state is, especially as an early primary state for 2028. So they're coming in now and trying to get it done.
All right, Dave, Antoine, guys, as always, thank you so much for your time. We're going to